policy paper talks about the Iranian regime and a transition possibly to democracy. Can you walk us through what that means exactly?
Of course, what a great question. First and foremost, the people of Iran are not looking for boots on the ground or a foreign-led regime change. As previously talked about, there is a viable alternative that is homegrown and has its boots on the ground, who are the resistance units and the network of the MEK. Ryan also just mentioned how Tehran's propaganda machinery has been derailing the formation of a cohesive policy on Iran through amplifying false narratives or creating distractions with fake oppositions. So what we presented in our policy paper is a need for a robust U.S. policy framework that moves beyond the false notion that there is no viable alternatives to the current regime in Iran. This is a major prerequisite to unpack in the question that you just asked. The NCRI, also known as the National Council of Jurists of Iran, offers a structured transition strategy that is crucial for understanding and preparing for the inevitable collapse of the Tehran's regime. As Anna initially mentioned, there is not a question of if the regime will fall, but of when it will. We argue that by engaging with the NCRI, the U.S. can better navigate the future dynamics of the Middle East. In November of 2024, Maryam Rajavi presented a compelling roadmap for regime change at the European Parliament. This plan includes several key elements, each designed to effectively dismantle the oppressive mechanisms of the Iranian regime. First, the empowerment and mobilization of the resistance units, also known as the freedom fighters who are inside Iran. These units are pivotal in conducting widespread civil disobedience and public demonstrations. Their role in energizing and mobilizing the people was highlighted during the 2024 Free Iran Summit taking place in Paris. With each resistance unit's campaign, the regime grows weaker and weaker. They are agents of change to overthrow this regime. Second, leveraging the MEK's extensive network of experience, rank, and file to organize and lead the resistance efforts. As Maryam Rajavi says, Ashraf 3, currently in Albania, serves as a hub for this organization, a critical center for supporting and international advocacy. The goal is to unify nationwide resistance efforts under the structured leadership, providing strategic direction and maintaining the momentum of the movement, which is very important. The third one and the final one I will discuss is a continued international advocacy by the NCRI plays a pivotal role in forging alliances with global communities. This involves strategic alliances with countries and international bodies that can exert diplomatic and economic pressures on the regime. The objective is to isolate the regime internationally, cut off their resources, and undermine their legitimacy, while preparing the international community to support a smooth transition. Once the regime is overturned, the NCRI has outlined a detailed and phrased approach for transition into a new government. This begins with setting up a provisional government tasked with governing for a maximum of 6 months. The primary responsibility of this government is to stabilize the country and prepare for a democratic processes. Most critically, they organize to conduct elections for a constituent assembly. After the elections, the Constituent Assembly takes charge, making a significant shift from provisional to a more permanent democratic governments. The NCRI dissolves and transfers power to the elected representatives of the people. In the following 2 years, the Constituent Assembly's duties include drafting, approving, and conducting a referendum of a new constitution. This constitution will establish the legal and institutional framework for a new republic, ensuring that the government structure is built on solid democratic principles and practices. This stage is pivotal as it is not only to shape the legislative backbone for a new Iran, but also to solidify principles of justice and equality before the law. Let me just add that the Iranian communities representing 41 chapters across the United States support this roadmap. It aims not only to remove oppressive regime, but also to establish sustainable model of governments that promotes human rights, economic prosperity, and peaceful international relations.